On an ordinary night, my husband drove me speeding along a deserted suburban avenue. He suddenly said, "Did you know your cousin died?" I didn't react. Huh? She died, and there's no meaning for me to live anymore. Claire, let's go down together to find her. After saying that, he sharply turned the steering wheel, and the car instantly lost control and rushed toward the nearby deep pit. With a loud bang, the car crashed into the ground, and both Victor and I suffered severe fatal injuries. In his dying moments, he used his last strength to say to me, "If time could be reversed, 40 years ago at the foot of the mountain, you must not save me." That day, she also passed by the foot of the mountain. If you hadn't saved me, I could have met her first. After saying that, he took his last breath. Filled with doubts, unwillingness, and anger, I could only die with my eyes open. When I opened my eyes again, I was back 40 years ago. This time, I decided to fulfill Victor and his white moonlight. But there was one problem: I didn't have a cousin at all. In a daze, the surrounding scenery suddenly changed, and I was back at the place where I had saved Victor that year. I had 2 braids, and on my back was the hazelnuts I had just picked from the mountain. Not far ahead lay a man covered in blood. That was the young Victor. At this moment, I realized I had been reborn. I walked to Victor's side and kicked him twice with my foot. Seeing he didn't wake up, I squatted down and slapped him twice. Victor finally woke up. Upon seeing the young me, he was first puzzled, then surprised, and finally angry. "You must not save me. Stay away from me." I realized he had also been reborn. I thought of what he said to me before dying: "If time could be reversed, 40 years ago at the foot of the mountain, you must not save me." That day, she also passed by the foot of the mountain. If you hadn't saved me, I could have met her first. Seeing me stunned, he shouted, "Get away, are you deaf? Don't touch me." I immediately stood up and walked away without looking back. In my previous life, I carried the severely injured Victor home, spent all the tuition I had saved with great difficulty, and hired the best doctor in the village to set his bones. Moreover, I stayed by his bedside day and night without rest. He once held my hand and promised, "Claire, you saved my life. Without you, there would be no Victor. In this life, Victor will marry no one but you and will never betray you." Later, after he recovered, he applied to the police university, became an honorable police officer, and was successfully promoted to bureau chief. He also fulfilled his promise and married me after graduating from university. We were husband and wife for 40 years. I bore him 3 sons. Now we even have grandchildren, but I didn't know that the one he originally wanted to marry wasn't me at all. He actually hated me so much that he wanted to take me to die with him. This time, I want to see who exactly is the white moonlight he couldn't forget for 40 years. I walked to a place where Victor couldn't see me and hid behind a big tree. From my angle, I could just see Victor clearly. I waited for a long time and finally saw someone passing by. That person had long hair coiled on top of her head, a pair of watery big eyes, and a small face so tender it seemed like water could be pinched out. It was Rain, who lived next door to me. As soon as Victor saw her, his whole body began to wriggle, and I knew it was her. In my previous life, after I saved Victor and brought him home, Rain did come to the house once. Unexpectedly, just this one time made Victor unable to forget her for 40 years. Rain passed by Victor, glanced at him, and walked straight past. Victor became anxious. "Miss, save me, and I will surely reward you handsomely." Upon hearing handsome reward, Rain stopped. "If I save you, how much money can you give me?" "My family is very rich. As long as you are willing to save me, I can give you 30 great unity bills." In the 1980s, 30 great unity bills were extremely attractive to our poor mountain village. Rain's eyes lit up. "Okay, it's a deal." She was very strong and easily carried Victor on her back. In my previous life, to carry Victor home, my waist almost broke. Knowing who the white moonlight was, I went home with peace of mind. After selling the last batch of hazelnuts in the basket, I could gather enough money for university. In my previous life, for Victor, I gave up Tsinghua and Peking University to wholeheartedly be his virtuous wife. Yet he despised me for lacking culture and low quality, only thinking about that glimpse from his youth. This time I want to live for myself. Just as I was packing to report to school, Rain suddenly rushed into my house. Sister, come with me quickly. Seeing her anxious look, I was stunned. Where to? Just come with me. She dragged me to her house and pointed to the severely injured Victor on the bed. Sister, don't you know how to bandage? Help me bandage that man's wounds. Victor saw me and became very emotional. No, I don't need her to save me. In this life, I absolutely don't want to owe her. I took a step back. This patient is very resistant to me, and besides, I only know simple wound treatment. His leg is obviously broken and needs bone setting. You'd better find a doctor for him. The family is almost unable to make ends meet. Where's the money to find a doctor for him? Sister, do you have money? Victor suddenly shouted, I don't need her money. Rain, please go borrow some medical fees from others. When I recover and return home, I will definitely repay them double. Rain sighed and walked out with me. I asked her, are you going to borrow money? Borrow what money? I won't go into debt for a man of unknown origin. Who knows if what he says is true? What if I cure him and he runs away? Who do I ask for money? Then what are you going to do? I'm going to pick some herbs for him. Whether he lives depends on his own fate. I saved him, so he should be grateful to me, and he still wants me to borrow money to treat his injuries. Dream on. Victor really had a strong life. Rain just casually applied some hemostatic herbs to him, and he miraculously survived. But his leg bone wasn't set, so he became lame. I saw him again 2 months later. He was carrying his luggage, standing at Rain's door saying goodbye to her. He held Rain's hand. Rain, as soon as I get home, I'll have my parents send you money. You must not move. Wait for me to marry you after I graduate from university. You must stay here so I can find you. Rain nodded. I know, go in peace. Watching Victor's limping back as he left, I hoped he wouldn't regret it. Rain, I just heard that man say he's coming back to marry you. Does he know that you? Rain rolled her eyes. He doesn't know. I think this person has some brain issues. Then are you really going to marry him? How is that possible? We are fundamentally impossible, okay? In the previous life, Rain abandoned the ancestral home and fled to another place to avoid debts, and we lost contact since then. If Victor can send her money this life, she probably won't leave her hometown. As for how they turn out in the future, I'll leave it to time. What I need to do now is to report to Tsinghua and Peking University. The studies and dreams I gave up for Victor in the last life, I want to pick up again this life. For years later, I returned home with my graduation certificate from Tsinghua and Peking University, and the first person I saw was Victor. Claire. He called out to me, his eyes full of incredulous admiration. At that time, having received higher education and struggled in the big city for 4 years, I had become fashionable and intellectual. I was no longer that rustic girl with 2 braids wearing a floral cotton jacket. It's you. Are you here to find Rain? Victor didn't answer me but said, looking at you, did you go to the city to study? Yes, I have graduated from Tsinghua and Peking University. Victor sneered, you, get into Tsinghua and Peking? I directly took out the degree certificate from Tsinghua and Peking. You've been to university too, you recognize this, right? Victor was stunned. You really got in. Then why before? Before, it was because I used all the tuition to treat your injuries, so I had no money for school. This life, since you didn't need me to save you, the money for school was naturally saved. Victor was greatly shocked. You were reborn too. I smiled at him. Is rebirth only allowed for you? When were you reborn? A bit earlier than you. I looked at his lame leg. This time I fulfilled you, but I'm afraid you can't attend the police university. Victor's expression was very complex. He gritted his teeth. So what? For Rain, I'm willing to give up everything. Is that so? Then do you know she? Shut up. Before I could finish, Victor sternly interrupted me. I know what you want to say. Aren't you just trying to say Rain is not as good as you? I know you still have feelings for me. But even if you graduated from Tsinghua and Peking this time, I will still resolutely choose Rain. Is that so? So you're saying you can accept everything about her, as long as it's her, anything is fine? Of course. I had nothing to say. Then I wish you happiness. Victor sighed. Claire, I know you've always loved me deeply. If there were no Rain, perhaps I could grow old with you. But heaven made me meet Rain, she is the woman Victor wants in this life. If you don't want me to hate you, don't make small moves to sabotage us. I was amused by his words. Victor, after 2 lives, you're still so arrogant. What makes you think the current me would still like the current you? Otherwise? Claire, you can be stubborn, but your eyes can't deceive me. Just admit it, you still have lingering feelings for me. I advise you to find a boyfriend soon. In this life, I can't give you anything, so don't pine for me anymore. At this moment, Ethan, who had just parked the car, walked to my side, and I immediately intimately linked arms with him. Let me introduce you, this is my husband Ethan. Victor was dumbfounded and only said after a while, Claire, you're lying to me, right? How could you get married before me? Want to see our marriage certificate? Ethan, show him. Ethan took out our marriage certificate and held it in front of Victor. We just got it today. Victor forced a smile. I know you, you're just trying to anger me by randomly finding someone to get certified with. Ethan isn't someone I randomly found, he's my university senior, and we dated for 4 years before tying the knot. You dated for 4 years, I haven't even dated Rain for 4 years. Victor's broken defense looked really funny. You haven't dated, what does that have to do with me? At this moment, Rain came out of the house, and Victor immediately held her hand. Rain, when are we getting the certificate? Oh, didn't I tell you my ID is lost, and my household registration is from another place, it's troublesome to replace. Let's have the wedding first, it's the same. Victor then became smug. Yes, let's have the wedding. Right in the village, and make it grand. Rain pushed Victor into the house. You go in and wait for me first, I haven't seen my sister for years and want to talk to her alone. Rain pulled me to a deserted place. You didn't tell Victor about my matter, right? No, I didn't have the chance. But are you really going to marry him? The bride price he gave is really too much, you know my dad owes a ton of gambling debts. I'll sacrifice a bit, deal with him reluctantly, and get the bride price first. Rain pointed at me. You must not tell him about my matter, you hear? Don't ruin my good thing. I nodded vigorously. Okay. I couldn't hold back the corners of my mouth anymore. I started looking forward to their wedding day. I don't know what Victor's reaction will be when he really marries the white moonlight he's longed for over 2 lives. Soon it was the wedding day. Victor set up a grand banquet in the village. The round tables alone almost stretched from Rain's house to the village entrance. But after the guests were seated, not even 10 tables were full. Victor's relatives occupied 8 tables, while Rain's relatives were only me and my husband. Victor was dumbfounded. Rain, doesn't your family have any other relatives? Rain's expression was unnatural. No, either no contact or all dead. She lied. Actually, the marriage was too outrageous, and her dad was too embarrassed to invite. Even the neighbors in the village, her dad didn't let them come. But Victor was already dazed with joy and didn't care about these at all. After toasting around, before the guests left, Victor impatiently pulled Rain into the bridal chamber. They hadn't been inside for 3 minutes when Victor suddenly rushed out shirtless. He was horrified, running too fast, he tripped over the threshold and fell flat on his face. He immediately got up and continued running, like a startled bird. Only then did I see him clearly. His eyes were bloodshot, bulging with rage, and he shouted, Ghost! Ghost! The one I want to marry isn't her. He ran urgently and fast, knocking into several guests. Rain rushed out of the room, shouting, Quickly stop him for me. Rain's dad stuck out his foot, and Victor tripped and fell right at my feet. Rain's dad grabbed Victor. On this joyous day, why are you running? Victor struggled desperately. Let me go, you liars, this is marriage fraud. What did we deceive you about? I gave you my daughter, the banquet was held, and the chamber entered. If you run now, we won't refund the bride price. And you have to compensate our family for reputation damages, at least 10,000 yuan. Victor pushed away Rain's dad, turned, and gripped my hand tightly. Claire, how could this be? I must be dreaming, right? This dream is too terrifying, I need to wake up quickly, wake up. Ethan yanked Victor away, don't pull on my wife. Victor slapped himself hard, grimacing in pain. It hurts so much, this isn't a dream. This is real, how is this possible? Victor's parents saw his abnormality and were scared. Margaret pulled Victor, Victor, what's wrong with you, don't scare Mom. Victor grabbed Margaret, Mom, I can't marry Rain. Harold grabbed his collar, why are you going crazy for no reason, we didn't agree to you marrying that girl in the first place. Coming from the village without even finishing junior high, what good woman could she be? It was you who knelt and begged us, so we reluctantly agreed. Now you don't want to marry her, what about the bride price we gave? That's money, so much money, do you think your parents earn money easily? Today, you marry whether you want to or not. No, I really can't marry her, Mom and Dad, you don't know, she. Harold slapped Victor, what's wrong with her, such a pure maiden, why can't you marry her? Dad, the key is she's not a pure maiden. What, has she been with others? Victor was in agony, grimacing and unable to say it. Say it quickly. He isn't a woman at all. He's a man. As soon as he said this, all the guests present were petrified. Harold and Margaret didn't believe him at all. Harold angrily pointed at him, you're really making up any lie to regret the marriage. Go back to the room with your wife now and consummate. Our Gu family can't be without descendants, hurry and make a person, must give me a grandson. Harold was an old feudalist, extremely patriarchal. In the last life, I bore Victor 3 sons and became a hero of the Gu family. Dad, he really is a man, I even touched that thing down there. Frank shouted at the top of his lungs, I'm telling you, if you don't marry today, I won't refund the bride price. Anyway, I gave you the person, whether you want it or not is your business. Harold felt unsure, what do you mean? Is your daughter really a man? Frank glared, but looked guilty, as long as she looks like a woman, right? Marrying a wife is hard nowadays, why so many issues? Upon hearing this, Harold felt the sky collapse, he pulled Rain over. Are you a man or a woman? Rain still looked innocent, I think I'm a woman. Harold could barely stand, he held his head and called relatives, then shakily pointed at Rain, quickly help me check if she's a man or a woman. Several aunts rushed over and held Rain down, Rain struggled desperately. What are you doing, let me go. The aunts ignored and directly pulled open Rain's clothes to look. No breasts, check below. My God, there really is. This is a man. As soon as this was said, Victor's relatives couldn't sit still. Everyone exploded in an instant, discussions rising one after another. Some accused the Song family of marriage fraud, others said Victor's orientation was abnormal. Most were just watching the drama, gloating. Seeing the situation bad, Frank immediately signaled Rain. Rain started crying, tears coming on command. Victor, didn't you say you'd marry no one but me? Now just because of a small defect in my body, you despise me and don't want me. We've consummated, I'm already yours, you can't abandon me. Victor was very angry, is that a small defect? You're not a woman at all. A grown man pretending to be a woman, this is marriage fraud. Although my body is male, my heart is female. And didn't you say you'd love me no matter what I become? And it was I who saved your life, carried you home from the foot of the mountain, and cared for you attentively. You promised to love me for life and never betray me, were those words just said insincerely to trick me into caring for you? Of course not, but I didn't know you were a man then. What's wrong with being a man, my heart is female, and I look female on the outside. I'm just slightly different in some places, it doesn't affect anything. Since you love me, it's surely not for that male-female thing, right? In that case, why can't we? Sweat beaded on Victor's forehead. It just won't work, isn't marrying a wife for that thing. And can you have children? Can you continue the lineage for our old Gu family? When we met, why didn't you clarify you're a man? If I knew you were a man, I wouldn't have needed you to save me. You deceived me so bitterly, you've ruined me, you know. Rain got anxious too. When did I deceive you? From start to finish, I never said I was a woman, okay? And the first time you said you wanted to be with me, I said we weren't suitable. It was you who kept holding my hand begging me, so I reluctantly agreed. Now if you want to break the marriage, fine, give our family 10,000 yuan for reputation damages, and we'll part ways. Otherwise, don't blame me for not considering past feelings. Victor was furious. Why? I haven't even asked you to compensate me, and you dare ask me for money. Not only will I not give you money, but you have to return all the 6,000 bride price I gave you. Why, I held the wedding with you, consummated with you. And you want me to refund the bride price? Dream on. Victor was so angry he was confused. If you don't refund, I'll go to the police station to sue you. Sue then, I'll sue you for forcing me. You just stripped my clothes and pants, and your relatives all came to strip my clothes and pants. I'll sue them all together. Those relatives got a bit scared upon hearing and came to advise Harold and Margaret to let it go. Margaret slapped her thigh and cried, "What is all this? How did our old Gu family end up with this?" Harold's face was red with anger. "Victor, you've lost all face for our Gu family today. Solve this yourself today, either bring me a real daughter-in-law, or get the bride price back. If nothing, don't come back to the Gu home." Victor really had no moves left. Harold and Margaret ignored him, only calling their relatives to leave this place of trouble quickly. After everyone left, Victor knelt down before Rain with a thud. "I beg you, let's part amicably. I don't ask for anything else, just return the bride price to me, otherwise, I can't even enter my home." Rain snorted, "Wanting the money back is definitely impossible. Don't think about reporting to the police. If you dare send our family to the station, I'll tell everyone you slept with me and like men, then see how you face living." Victor's face turned ashen with anger. He suddenly stood up and turned to me. "Claire, you've always known he's a man, right? Why didn't you tell me earlier? I'd become like this because of you." I was so angry I laughed. "You're blaming me now. Do you remember what I said at the door that day? I wanted to tell you then, but you interrupted before I finished. It was you who said you could accept everything about him, as long as it's him. Rain is still Rain, he's just a boy. We've both lived once. In modern terms, my brother is just a crossdresser. I thought even if you knew, you wouldn't mind. After all, we've come from the modern era. Didn't you always say you've received higher education and understand young people who take unconventional paths? How come when it's on you, you can't accept it? But now isn't the 21st century, it's the 1980s. In this era, finding a man as a wife would have people gossiping behind my back until my spine breaks." I laughed at him. "But isn't this what you begged for even at the cost of death?" Victor's body stiffened, face ashen. He couldn't speak for a long time. "But then, I didn't know he was a man. Who could think that such a delicate girl is actually a man? So you just lusted after looks. I thought how much you loved Rain, but it's just that." After saying that, I linked arms with my husband to leave, but Victor grabbed my wrist. "Don't go, Claire, I was wrong, really wrong. I shouldn't have been momentarily confused and liked someone I didn't understand at all. In the last life, you were so good to me, I didn't even know Rain's name, yet I thought of her for a lifetime, ignoring your goodness. I'm not human, I deserve to die. Claire, hit me, as long as you vent, you can beat me to death." I shook him off. "Why would I hit you? I have to thank you. If not for you driving us into the ditch, I wouldn't have the chance to live again. In this life, I'm very happy. I completed my studies and found someone who truly loves me." "But Claire, the one you love is me. We were husband and wife for 40 years, no one knows better than me how much you love me. You valued me more than your life, you were even willing to give me the only life-saving medicine. In the previous life, I was a bastard, I wasn't devoted to you. This life, my leg is lame, dreams gone, I accept it. But we still have a chance to start over. As long as you divorce this man, I don't mind you've been married once. Let's get the certificate right away. This life, I'll be devoted to you and make up for what I owed you last life. I quietly listened to him. Finished? Now it's my turn. Victor, you're really ridiculous, you know? Look at my husband, he's much better than you. He's a young entrepreneur now, with unlimited prospects. What do you have? A man with a lame leg who lost labor ability. What use are you to me? Some pitch you jump once is enough. Who would be stupid enough to jump a second time? But have you forgotten our sons? We have 3 sons. If you're not with me, they can't come to this world. Can you bear not to have them? Don't mention those 3 ungrateful wolves. Mentioning them makes me furious. I was so good to them, but they only listened to you and looked down on me with you. Whoever wants these 3 ungrateful wolves can have them. I don't want them. Victor panicked. That was me being a bastard, always instilling bad ideas in them, making them disrespect you. This time I'll educate them well, they'll be filial to you. No need, my husband and I will have better, more excellent children later. Ethan protected me. Please stay away from my wife in the future, or I won't be polite. After we went home, intense quarreling came from Rain's house. Since our houses were very close, we heard clearly what they were arguing about. We only heard Victor shout, "Rain, you not only deceived my feelings but made me a joke. You hermaphrodite, I've been ruined by you over 2 lives, I'll fight you." Then came sounds of fighting. What 2 lives, you're blaming me now. I didn't want to save you at first. If not for you calling me and saying you'd reward me handsomely, I wouldn't have reluctantly brought you home. Anyway, I saved your life. Not being grateful is one thing, but now you dare blame me. I should have left you lying at the foot of the mountain to die. You're farting. You want to be a police officer, do you deserve it? The fighting sounds grew louder, and the curses dirtier. Ethan and I couldn't help but come out to watch. We saw Rain and his father beating Victor. Although Rain was dressed as a girl, he was a man after all. 2 against 1, Victor quickly fell behind, beaten black and blue. Finally, Victor was driven out by Rain and his father. Rain pointed at him and cursed. Damn it, today it's you who won't marry, not me. Rain backing out. Get out of my house quickly, I won't ask you for that 10,000 anymore. Don't let me see you again, or I'll beat you every time. Victor fell to the ground, head broken, face scratched, new suit torn. He saw me standing in the yard, lips moved slightly, but said nothing in the end, turned and left silently. I thought, perhaps we won't meet again this life. I packed up, preparing to move to the city with my husband. Just as we loaded everything and drove on the country road, ready for a new life, an accident happened. Suddenly, a car rushed out from somewhere and crashed hard into ours. Our car flipped instantly, rolled twice, and stopped in the nearby field. As my consciousness blurred, I was suddenly pulled out of the car by a strong force. In a daze, I felt myself stuffed into a car. When I woke again, I found myself in an abandoned house, hands and feet bound with hemp rope. Victor's face suddenly approached, awake. I was scared out of my wits. Victor, what do you want? It was you who crashed into our car. Where's my husband? Victor squatted beside me, gently stroking my face. Claire, only now do I know how good you were to me. You're probably thinking it's too late, but I don't think so. I was angry and scared, tears falling uncontrollably. I ask you, where's my husband? You only care about him. He's still in that car. If no one saves him, he's probably dead by now. I really wanted to tear Victor apart. You madman, what do you want? Claire, don't be angry, I was joking. Ethan isn't dead, I saw his injuries aren't severe, probably just fainted. I brought you here not to hurt you. I just want to win you back, I want to start over with you. Victor, do you not understand human language? It's impossible for me to start over with you. Even if all men in the world die, I won't be with you again. Do you understand? Victor suddenly grabbed me, eyes gleaming. We can still start over, let's pretend none of this happened. If we die together, we can be reborn together. We'll go back to the day you saved me at the foot of the mountain. This time, I'll be devoted, loving only you. I sneered, don't dream, Victor, even if reborn 100 times, I won't save you. This life, next life, the one after, I don't want any connection with you. Victor grabbed my collar, lifting me up. Claire, in the previous life you clearly loved me so much, why can't you give me a chance? Claire, how can you be so heartless? Victor, look at yourself now, what's the difference from a madman? Yes, I'm mad. You all drove me mad, I feel heaven is toying with me, why should I end up betrayed by all? I refuse. I secretly stood up when he wasn't looking, talking while moving toward the door. What do you refuse? Time reversal was what you begged for, not letting me save you was your choice. Blame yourself for only coveting Rain's face. Victor was furious, he suddenly choked my neck. You want to run, huh? Today you can't. You must die with me, we'll start over. Even if I die with you, we can't go back. Do you think rebirth is easy? Heaven gave you one chance already as favor, wanting a second is dreaming. Then let's make it done now. Once you pregnant with my child, Ethan won't want you, and you'll have to come back to me obediently. Saying that, Victor's stinking mouth came toward my face, I quickly dodged back, shouting while dodging. Help, murder. Stop shouting, there's no one within 10 miles. Today you must be my wife. Victor crazily tore my clothes, my hands and feet bound, I couldn't resist. In despair, Victor's back of head was suddenly struck hard. Victor held his bleeding head, turned, and saw it was my husband Ethan. Ethan was injured all over, could barely stand, but still chose to save me. Victor, I've called the police. They'll arrive soon, wait to be arrested. Bullshit, trying to scare me. In the wilderness, where's the police, what did you use to call? I have a big brother. Victor was stunned, he thought carefully, this year big brothers are indeed sold domestically. Now he was scared. Suddenly, siren sounds came from outside, Victor scrambled away in fear. While running, he shouted, Claire, we'll meet again. Seeing him run, Ethan finally sighed in relief, quickly untied my ropes. I immediately threw myself into his arms and cried loudly. He patted my back to comfort, it's okay, we're safe. Did you really call the police? Silly, I was bluffing him. My big brother was broken in the crash, we need to leave quickly, lest he realizes and comes back. We supported each other to the main road, waited half a day for a car to pass and take us to the city. We didn't even go to the hospital, first thing in the city was to report to the police station. After finishing the statement, Ethan took me to the hospital for checkup. Luckily, we both had strong lives, injuries were just superficial. After bandaging and stopping bleeding at the hospital, basically no danger. The city police immediately contacted our county police, who dispatched to arrest Victor. Victor didn't know where to hide, police searched 3 days without finding him. 2 days later, someone in the village reported hearing screams from Rain's house. When police arrived, they found Rain and his dad both stabbed multiple times, dead. Then someone reported seeing a blood-covered person jump into the river. Police were nearby, immediately went into water to save, the one saved was Victor. Police found me, you're Claire, right? The suspect Victor we arrested wants to see you one last time. Now he refuses to admit guilt, saying only after seeing you once will he accept legal punishment. Don't worry, you just see him through the bars, we'll ensure your safety. I didn't want to see him, but was curious what ivory could come from a dog's mouth. So I went to the police station. Victor was excited seeing me, Claire, being able to see you again before death is great. Seeing you're okay, I'm relieved. After I'm gone, please visit my parents when free. In the previous life, they were good to you, I'm a bastard, but my parents truly treated you as daughter-in-law. I'm not asking you to care for them in old age, just visit when you have time. I sighed deeply, but have you forgotten? This life, they don't know me at all. Victor was stunned, then wailed. I destroyed my own happiness, I deserve it. You've said it all, Victor, I hope we never meet again. Walking out of the police station, the sun was bright, sky blue, not a cloud. Victor was ultimately sentenced to death. My husband and I bought an apartment in the city, both had our careers. Soon we welcomed our first child. This life, everything is just right.